5.3, for this Take 5, you received a worksheet. These were the elements of the worksheet looking at the relationship between these different events or situations and how the market grows. The market meaning people you can sell things to. Production growing, meaning the amount of stuff that is made. And investment, people who are taking their money, giving it or loaning it to business owners, allowing for the business owners to grow their business. So we looked at all of these different elements just to understand, you could pretty much argue all three for any one of these situations in yellow. But the important thing that we were looking at was which is primary? What are the primary results of changes in the system? I hadn't shown this in the previous lesson, but this is what a full-size Watt steam engine looked like. You can see on the left-hand side the boiler where the coal would go to create the steam. Go up from there, you can see sort of that oval shape. That's going to be the lever that pushes up and down, which is connected to a geared wheel. And that large wheel is what is going to propel or to power some sort of factory. This is really huge. That something as small as a little boiler with steam can create this much power. Just looking at the power of the Industrial Revolution, how big the changes were. One place that wanted to show off all of these changes and innovations was Great Britain. Prince Albert, he is the husband of Queen Victoria in Great Britain. He is not the king. He doesn't have the responsibilities of the king. So he started looking at how to support the Industrial Revolution, how to use all of these new things to benefit the citizens of Great Britain. He realizes that Britain was the first to industrialize and it is the best. So he wants to show off all that Great Britain is doing. So he helps organize the Great Exhibition of 1851. He wants to show, yes, it's part of national pride, but it's also to help spread the benefits of industrialization. Here is a look inside the exhibit. The exhibit hall was built in Hyde Park in London. It was a full 2 stories. You can see here that it is bright. It is full of exhibits and exhibitors from around the world: America, Canada, Africa, China, India. All of these countries bringing their ideas to Great Britain. Some of the exhibits included the alarm bed, where the bed itself tips over to knock the sleeper out when it's time to wake up. A machine that looked like little hands that mechanically is folding envelopes. Things that to us seem normal, but at the time were pretty brand new. A typewriter, a sewing machine. So the contents of the exhibit hall are impressive, but also the building itself. This is the outside view. It was called the Crystal Palace. Most buildings were made of brick and stone and mortar, things that were heavy and took time to build. But the Crystal Palace itself was only possible because of the Industrial Revolution. It was made up of over 200,000 panes of glass. This is possible because with innovation, glass can be made large enough and strong enough for this need. And it's also made out of steel, a pretty new, lightweight but strong material. In addition to changes to industry, new inventions, things that change include the social structure, the social class system. There still are aristocrats. This is not new. There have been nobles for centuries. There will continue to be nobles, the people who own land and have titles. Something that is a little bit newer is the upper class. These are the very wealthy business owners, entrepreneurs, people creating new ideas, new companies, but on a large scale. The real change takes place in the middle class. This would be sort of like the bourgeoisie during the French Revolution. People who might be educated, professional jobs like doctors and lawyers, small-scale business owners, people who are earning capital, cash, and reinvesting it and gaining more and more money. And then what we would have previously called the peasants, we're now going to call the working class. Peasant as a word suggests farming. But we know now there are so many other alternatives. Working in factories, working in a city, being a coal miner. We're mostly going to look at the middle class because that's where the change takes place. Again, these are the people who have cash. Their wealth is in cash, not just in goods or property. They have cash, which means they can buy stuff. This will lead to a consumer culture. We currently live in a consumer culture where people are judged on the things that they have, the stuff that they have. In the 1800s, that stuff is sometimes different, at least by appearances. The middle class starts buying stuff for their house, products that now are available because of manufacturing and industrialization. When someone comes to their home, they realize, oh, look at all this stuff that this middle class person has. That means that they have the money to purchase all of it. Also, just in clothing, the style of clothing you wear demonstrates to the rest of the world who you are and the wealth that you have. By having 17 rows of ruffles and layers and layers and layers and yards of fabric, these women are showing to the rest of the world that they have wealth. They have the ability to purchase these items. You can see here it is a very clear distinction between someone who is from the lower or working class and someone who is from the upper class. Again, the middle class, people who are running companies, running the businesses that are part of this industrialization process. Usually the middle class was educated because they have the cash to do that. It doesn't mean they have a ton of education, but at least more so than the lower classes. What is really unique about this middle class is they have social mobility. Now that society is functioning on a cash basis, it is possible to change your social class through hard work and a little bit of luck. Just because you were born in the lower class does not mean you will always be there. If you work hard and earn money, you can start buying stuff. You can start having fancier clothes. And that is how you will change your social class. Conversely, it also means that if you lose money, you might drop in social class. One result of this ability to change social class is what becomes known as the separate spheres. In an agricultural system, it is necessary for everyone, men, women, and children, to be part of, getting the crops in. Everyone is involved when it's planting season. Everyone is involved during harvest season. But now, where there are clear roles that men leave the house and work and earn cash, in the middle class, they want to demonstrate to other people, I am so successful that my wife does not need to work. So this is really where we start getting that idea that women stay at home, they take care of the children, they make the home look nice. Men go out into the big bad world and work and bring home the bacon, and the women cook it up. So you can see here in this lovely little scene, the men coming from the outside, the women rushing to see them. They're so excited because they've been inside all day long. Also, sort of the idea of children being seen and not heard, and having governesses. In Mary Poppins, the parents don't really see the kids all that much because they can afford to pay Mary Poppins to do it for them. So there's this whole culture in the 1800s that, pay someone else to take care of the children. You'll see them once a day, make sure that they're okay, but you don't really need to interact with them because you're going to be doing other things, spending your time and your money in other ways. This all plays into what is now referred to as Victorian morality. Victoria was the Queen of Great Britain from 1837 to 1901. Here she is. She was known for being very, very proper, following all of these social rules. You guys actually understand this, though, better than you think, because in the 1980s, there was a business owner who thought, everybody knows that Victoria is very proper and has all these morals, but wouldn't it be funny if underneath all of that, she was wearing sexy lingerie, if that was the big secret that she had? So even as a culture today, we understand this concept without realizing it. This need to behave in a certain way to follow certain rules. So if you want to go to the beach, make sure you don't show too much skin. It would be improper. It would not follow the correct rules of society to show too much skin, ladies. If you see the girl on the right at the top, she's showing an elbow. That is pretty scandalous. Even men, though, if you look at Johnny Depp down at the bottom, he is covered up. So we want people to look at us and know what social class we are in. Dating rules change. In the lower classes, in the working class, there was premarital marriage, there are children out of wedlock, and the middle class wants to distinguish themselves from the working class. So there become all these rules about dating and kissing and holding hands before marriage. Another way to show that you are different from the working class is by not drinking beer. You can watch the video clip over on the right if you're in Canvas about drinking beer. The working class would drink beer because they realized they didn't get sick as often if they drank beer instead of the water. And we know the water was very filthy and they would get cholera. So that meant that the working classes were drinking beer and getting drunk. A lot of the middle class supported the idea of temperance, of not drinking alcohol, because the lower classes drank alcohol. So the middle class is trying to separate themselves with temperance, not drinking alcohol. All of this is part of class consciousness, being hyper aware of everyone's social status, where they eat, what they wear, what their home looks like, and wanting to make sure that no one confuses you with someone of a lower class. You're okay being confused with someone of a higher class. This social mobility leads to being aware of social classes. So much so that even transportation changes. You know, a train pulls into the station at the same time. People get off at the same time from a train. But now people in the middle and upper classes want to make sure that everyone knows that they're different. Everyone knows that they are more successful or have more wealth. So there's a first class. Same thing with boats. All of this is playing into the identity of, I want you to be aware of who I am and how important I am and how much money I have. Another way to do that is by having a servant. So you can watch that video. The servants would be one of the elements of the working class. Again, they're not just peasants, they're not just farmers. This includes all of the factory workers in various industries. All of the people that make industry possible, like coal mining, like building, like creating the rail system. Like I already said, the servants and also child labor. Children were good to hire because they were cheap. They fit into tight places. They could fit behind or in between machines. They could change parts on it because they have small hands. They fit nicely up chimneys to clean out all of that coal soot from coal fires. All of this will be why unions become popular. Many people in the working classes feel that they are being taken advantage of, both economically and socially. So workers want to start creating unions, organizing a group that represents all workers because they want to change their working conditions. They want better hours. They want a safer environment. Oftentimes, the way unions try to get change is through protests and through striking, stopping work. The government, which the representatives in the government are often wealthier, the parliament passes laws that outlaws strikes. That makes it impossible for the workers to strike because the business owners would not profit from this. They would actually be harmed from this. Eventually, after years of working and advocating, unions do achieve some pretty significant gains. Some of the laws include for miners that women are no longer allowed to go underground, which meant that at one point that women were working, almost miles underground, and that in the mines you must be at least 10 years old. Again, 10 years old, not very old, but in the 1800s this was an improvement. In factories, women and children cannot work in a factory unless they are 13 years or older, and that between 13 and 18 years old, that they may only work 10 hours a day. That is an improvement from the 12, 13, 14 hours a day that grown men would work. It's an improvement. It's not perfect, but it's an improvement. The first goal of these unions is mostly economic, better pay or better hours. But as the unions realized that many of the laws were being made by powerful people, that the unions sort of shift their goals from not just economics, not from just getting better pay, but from being politically active. By 1868, there were 100,000 union members in the United Kingdom alone. And that's just union members. Not everyone in the working class belonged to a union, but it shows that these people, they need someone to listen. They need a voice to improve their life. So there's lots of video clips for you to watch. There also is another one of the BBC games for you to play if you want. That's it for 5.3.